Okay, so quite a while back I had uploaded some Shawn Lane material to the channel demonstrating some pentatonic sequences. In that video I demonstrated some sequences of 4s and 5s going up the scale, and had someone ask a question about jumping around with your pointer finger, to the different positions and things like that. How do you easily do that? Seems kind of simple on the surface, but when you have all this other stuff going on, in there, it does get a bit more complicated. But I think before I answer that question, I'd like to redo what I had discussed in those last videos, because at the time I didn't have good audio equipment and I really didn't get the point across like I wanted to. So I'd like to start with the groupings of 5 again, and we'll start here on a C note on the low E string with our minor pentatonic, first position. So Shawn demonstrates this lick in one of his instructional videos, and it's a grouping of 5 going up the pentatonic scale. I think it's one of the first groupings that he demonstrates, and it's one of the first groupings that I used to really get the fingering down and to really get some of these pentatonic sequences under my fingers. So hopefully that will help you do that as well. So the grouping is this. So it's a grouping of 5. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so the first thing that you'll probably notice is that when I play, again, and I've mentioned this before, when I play the pentatonic scale, I tend to use fingers 1 and 3. That's not to say I never use my pinky. Sometimes I will if I'm trying to grab some extension, or from some 3 notes per string stuff going on there. But most of the time when doing sequences of 4s and 5s and 6s, I tend to use fingers 1 and 3, even for the bigger stretches. And this is because the pinky tends to get in the way when you do those types of groupings. You'll notice players like Eric Johnson and Shawn Lane really don't use their pinky very much when they play the pentatonic scale, and I think that this is probably the reason. So this grouping of 5 is this. I start with my pinky. I do use the pinky for this starter note. I don't know why, it just feels more comfortable. So it's 1 note on the low E string, 2 notes on the A string, and 2 notes on the D string. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And to continue the next grouping of 5, starting with the A string, you would think that you would want to use your 3rd finger, because your 3rd finger is already here on your D string. But if you did that, it's very awkward, because what happens is you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then to use your 3rd finger you would have to flatten it out and try to bar that. It's just very awkward and hard to get any kind of speed with that. And Shawn talks about this as well. So if you use your 2nd finger on the A string, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then bring your 2nd finger over here, like that right there, and then start on the A string. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Start with 2nd finger again. Start with the 2nd finger again. Okay, so that whole thing is this. And one more time. Okay, so what I'm doing as far as the picking on this, all the notes are not picked. When Shawn tends to ascend pentatonic scales like this, he doesn't tend to pick every note. Now, if he's going down, say a grouping of sixes like that, something like that. Something like that, he does tend to pick more of the notes. Probably, maybe he just liked the sound of it, or it is a bit more complicated to pick the notes going up the scale, depending on how your pick is held. So the way that I pick the groupings of 5 here is this. I start with an upstroke, so I have one note on the low E string, and then when I get to the A string, I do a downstroke and I hammer. So you have that. So it's up, down, and then on the D string I do an upstroke and a downstroke. So it's up, down, hammer, up, down. So up, down, hammer, up, down. And then to start over with the next grouping of 5, on the A string it's up, it's the same thing, it's up, down, hammer, up, down. So up, down, hammer, up, down, and then up, down, hammer, up, down, and then same thing again, up, down, hammer, up, down. So that's slowly. There's a very cool sound to it. Now, there's another way that I've thought about that actually may be slightly easier than the picking method that I use, and it may be to use economy picking or sweeping. So all your strokes would be a downstroke instead of, well, there would be one upstroke in there. Down, down, hammer, down, up, down, down, hammer, down, up, and then same thing all the way through. So down, down, hammer, down, up, down, down, hammer, down, up. That may be easier for some of you guys that like to play economy picking. I'm decent at economy picking, but I haven't practiced it with these type of sequences. So what I'll do now is just run through all 5 patterns of the pentatonic scale, and I'll just demonstrate how to play the grouping of 5 in all 5 positions. Pattern 2 would be this. Now, I think this is one of the harder patterns to do, you have this weird change between the D and the G string, and I do tend to use my pinky when going to the D and G. So that one again slow is. Okay, we'll start with pattern 3. It's here. Pattern 4 here. And then pattern 5 up here at the top. Okay, so those are all 5 patterns there, and just practicing those in one key and just getting some of them down, you know, even if it's just one position, is really going to help you get, first of all, some more phrasing ideas. And since it's not a pattern of, you know, say sixes that are just, you know, has this kind of an even rhythmic grouping to it. You know, since this is 5, it's gonna give you a bit more vocabulary. So I hope this helps you, and I'll continue in another video and discuss a few more sequences.